In this video, we're going to look at some of the basics of slope and how it relates to graphs and equations. There's three types of equations. There's one that's called slope-intercept form. In that one, each one of these, this m stands for slope. So anytime you see m, that means it's the slope. And the other is the y-intercept, which is the point where your line crosses the y-axis. Point slope form, you'll notice that m in there again, so this is still slope. But this time you know a point on the line, the x1 and the y1 go together to make a point, and instead of the y-intercept. So this can be anywhere on the graph. And then standard form looks like this, and this is the only form where you don't know the slope. To calculate a slope, slope is how steep a line is, rise and run. Okay, rise goes on the top, and yes, I do know how to spell rise, but I use the y to remember that it matches the y direction. So y is the up and down, x is the run. And we're going to look at this equation a little bit more, but basically you just subtract the y values from each of your 2 points, and you put that over the top of the difference between the x's. So you subtract the x's from each of those same 2 points. If you have a positive slope looks like that, where it's going up to the right. Negative slope looks like that, where it's going down to the left. Okay, the steeper the slope, the bigger this number is going to be. All right, so if we're looking at an equation or a question like this, where it asks us to find the slope and the y-intercept. Those are our two things, and these are both in slope-intercept form. So this 3 is just the slope, the -4 is the y-intercept. So over here in this line, if we kind of picture what it would look like, it's going to cross below the origin, and it's going to have a slope of 3. So in this one over here, we have a negative slope, which means if we graph it, this one would be going down, and it would have a y-intercept that would cross above the origin because that is a +5. So this one would be going up and a little steeper. This one would be going down and would be flat. But our slope would be the number in front of that x, which is the -1/2. And the y-intercept is the 5. The x is not part of the slope. All right, this one's in point slope form. So to find our slope, the slope is just the number in front of that parentheses. So our slope would be 3/4, which means we go up 3 for every 4 we move to the right. All right, to calculate our slope, we're going to use that slope formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if we look at in a point, x is the first number, y is the second number, and this is our first point. In our second one, we have an x2 and a y2. And we're simply going to bring these numbers down and plug them into here. So y2 was our 7, y1 was a -1. So when I subtract -1, it becomes a +1. And then my x2 was my 3, my x1 was my 4. So I end up with 8 over -1, or -8 for my slope, which means it's going down and it's pretty steep because I go down 8 for every 1 I go to the right, or I go up 8 for every 1 I go to the left. All right, here we're going to be looking at identifying slope and intercept of the line. The y-intercept is pretty easy to find. You just follow the y-axis, and it's the number where it crosses the y-axis. So for this one, my y-intercept would be +5. Then to calculate slope, we're basically going to make a little right triangle here. We're going to count from the point on the left, and to get to the point on the right, we would count up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And over here to go, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're just going to turn that into a fraction. So we rise 4 for every 5 we run. To turn that into an equation, we're just going to plug those in. So we would have y equals 4/5 x plus 5. All right, I know it's positive because it's going up, and it's a plus number at the end because it's above the origin. Right, so knowing just those two things, my y-intercept is above the origin, so it's a plus something, and it's going down, which means my slope is negative. So if I have to pick out a multiple choice answer, that gives me some help. All right, but my y-intercept was up here at 3, and my slope, this time when I make my little right triangle, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 lines, so it's -3, the negative for down, and right 2. And again, we're just going to plug that into our equation. So y equals -3/2 x plus 3. All right, if we're going to graph that, we're going to put those things on the graph. So my slope is 3, but we're going to start here with my y-intercept at -5. So from the origin, I count down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I put a point right there. And then my slope is 3, and I got to make that a fraction because I got to rise and run. So since there's no other number there, I'm going to put a 1 under it. So I'm going to count from this point on the axis, up 3, right 1, and I'm going to put a point. Can do that again, up 3, right 1, put another point, and then I'm just going to draw a line through those. All right, last thing, we got to write an equation from a table. We need two things. We need our b. And to find our b, we look at where x is 0. So where x is 0, that number right there is my y-intercept. Then I also need my slope, so I'm going to look at how much this changes and in what direction each time. So each one of these from 7 to 9 is up 2, 9 to 11 is up 2. So my slope is just 2. So y equals 2x plus 3. All right, last one. Here's my y-intercept. And my slope, this time each one of these is going up 3. So my slope is 3. So y equals 3x minus 2. All right, I want you to do questions 1 through 8 in your ELO packet, and then you can come back and we can check them.